In today's podcast, we're going to be taking a look at the NFC North and all of the fantasy players that you should be targeting for your fantasy teams. Now let's take a look.
Welcome to the First Overall Podcast, where we break down everything in the world of fantasy football. Here is your host, Rob and Kev.
Welcome to the First Overall Podcast, Episode 2. Today we are going to take a look at NFC North. We're going to break them down. And we are going to take a look at who you should be targeting from those divisions. There are a lot of good players within those divisions, and there's a lot of players that we should be not taking a look at all. So we'll definitely go through those. Kev, anything going on in your world today?
No, really just chilling, you know.
Yep, trying to survive this heat. It is insane in Arizona right now.
We're 20
to 30% humidity and sitting at about 105, 106. It's like living in hell.
Bro, every single time I step outside, I feel like I'm going to pass out.
Oh, yeah, it's terrible. I'm trying not to go outside. We go to places purposely to make sure that they have AC. We're not going anywhere else that we don't absolutely need to.
Yeah, no wasted trips.
Yeah, hell no. All right, so let's jump in. Let's take a look at some stuff that's going on around the league. We had some news come through today. Starting just really right at the top, Garoppolo passed his physical, so he does not need to hit the PUP list. He's going to be ready to go for the Raiders. That is good news for any Raiders fan. You're not going to have to deal with any backup quarterbacks. He's going to be able to slide right in. Whether or not he has his starting running back at the beginning of the season, that is still up in the air. We did see as well that some very big name running backs came out today and had an impromptu meeting to talk about the current state of the running back position in the league. You had names like Nick Chubb, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, McCaffrey, and Austin Eckler all coming together to discuss what could possibly be done to improve the way that running backs are treated within the NFL. And to be honest, Kev, I think that's a talk that needs to happen. These are treated as throwaway players, and it's just not right the way that they're handled.
Yeah, they're literally treated like garbage.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we've got our 3 to 5 years of your prime away out of the way. Mm-hmm. We don't need you anymore. We're going to toss you to the side, and we're going to get a rookie on a sweet deal during his prime and not have to worry about paying him.
Chubb had a very good quote today. They quoted him as saying, we could go out there and run 2,000 yards and so many carries. The next year, they're going to say that you're probably worn down. I mean, they can't do anything right now because there's nothing written in, but that death age at 30 of a running back is just absurd because there's still running backs that have way more in the tank to give when they're hitting that 30 mark. And I don't care if you run 300 touches and you're running 1,800 yards. If you can come out and reproduce that in the next year, you need to get paid.
And here's the key thing. If you can do all of that and you're not sitting out due to major injuries, come on.
Exactly.
Why?
Exactly. And some of these guys have been doing it fairly well for a while now with limited injuries, and even if they have had the injuries, they've come back stronger. I mean, Saquon had an extremely good year last year. We've seen Jacobs come back from injury. We've seen Eckler come back from injury, and they're running just as hard as they were before the injury. So to say that the injury plays a part into this, yeah, it could, but you have that with anybody. You have quarterbacks that are getting injured with the same injury. You have wide receivers that are getting injured. It's ridiculous, and those guys are still getting paid top dollar. Exactly, and they're getting top dollar while running backs are sitting in the back, just kind of shaking their head, saying, "When is our time going to come up?"
Yeah, exactly.
So, on another note here, the Commander sale officially went through, so they have been purchased.
I'm gonna say this is probably the one transaction Magic Johnson is gonna wish he wasn't a part of.
Well, I don't know if you saw earlier in the week, but he's already come out saying that they want to change the name again.
Okay.
I know. And they've teased 5 possible names. You want to hear these names?
Oh, I gotta hear these.
Okay, so at number 5, they wanted to go with the Washington Presidents, but with the way that everything's politicized right now and how polarizing that is, they took a step back and writ that in as Washington Majors. So that's number 5.
Okay.
Number 4, I like the history behind this one, and I could actually get behind this one. They have the Washington Red Tails, naming it after the Tuskegee Airmen, which was a very big, very important portion of World War II. I can definitely get behind something with history like that. They have the Washington Red Hogs because of the fan base, of course. But who? I would not be running around saying my team's the Red Hogs. It's just not me, bro.
Wait, that was number. Oh,
that was number 3. Number 2 is the Washington Pigskins, just simply saying it's essentially saying the football team again, just in a different limelight, and then trying to be like a soccer team. Number 1 was the Washington DC Football Club. I'm not a fan of any of those 5 names. The only one that I could get behind of because of the history would be the Red Tails. That's it.
Yeah.
All of them are garbage, though. They're all terrible.
I think they need some of this.
It's just so awful. Like I'm sitting there thinking to myself, how could you pick any of these?
That's man. Nuts. Just leave it alone.
All right, last thing that I wanted to touch on, Ravens made a signing. Looks like their running back, Dobbins, has to go on the PUP list. So to bolster their running backs, they have brought in Melvin Gordon on a 1-year, $3.1 million deal. Why they would I understand why they brought Melvin in, because he doesn't need a very large contract. They do have availability to still sign Hunt. Kareem Hunt is out there. Dalvin Cook is out there. You have some big name running backs. Zeke is still out there. You have some big name running backs that are still available, but they didn't want to pay that money when they still have Dobbins on the roster, and he is eventually going to come back from the PUP list, and they want to see what he can do. So they went with the less money to bring in Gordon. Gordon brings them 8 years of experience into that team. So he's not somebody that's going to come in and not know what the hell's going on. He knows what's going on. He's going to fight for a starting position on that team. But I think it's a smart deal to bring him in.
He's another guy that was just used up and was like, well, you're done. So we're just going to ship you off.
They ran the shit out of him in Denver. They ran him till he was done and then kicked him to the curb. So we'll see what he can do. And Todd Gurley, he played like 7 seasons and then he was done. That was like, a very, very short life on Gurley.
Yeah, very short.
Yep. Again, just to briefly touch on our information. We are a new channel. Subscriptions and likes and shares, those are all going to go a long way to help us down the road. We have been pushing out a lot of YouTube shorts, TikTok videos, Instagram reels. You can find those all on our channels. We'll have everything linked down below.
I got a problem with one of them.
I bet you do. Cowboys fans are rising up in numbers against some of our content there, but we got to do it. Trying to get a rise out of people. That's the only way to really get people involved. But it is spicy. But yeah, if you wouldn't mind just giving us some love, subscribe, share it out, like our videos. It goes a long way. Plus, we have our Discord. If you want to join the Discord, get into the conversations there, see if there's any availability in the leagues. We have all of that information there as well. You can always ask us questions directly in the Discord as well. And we do have memberships coming. We'll have more information to that down the road. Kev, are we ready to get into our show today?
Let's get it. Oh, God, my knee. Oh, God, my knee.
What are you, like 9,000 years old, bro?
I got a drawer under my desk.
Oh, damn. All right. So we are going to be touching on we are going to be touching on the NFC North to start with here. So it is my personal division. Being a Packers fan, I am dreading the way that this season's going to go just because I simply don't know what's going to happen. Yeah, if this is the first time in probably 15 seasons that I really don't know how this is going to shape out.
I was about to say, how old were you the last time the Packers were in this position? Like 3?
I was in Pop Warner. Yeah, I was in Pop Warner when this was going on. So it's been a while. Looking at records from last season, Vikings took it all in our division. They won the division. They were 13-4. Lions beat us in the last game to drop us to third. So the Lions finished 9-8, finished in second position there in the North. We finished 8-9. And then the Bears completely fell apart and finished 3-14. Not very good numbers coming out of the North last season. Vikings pretty much ran away with it, which we kind of figured was going to happen. I didn't have a whole lot of love for what the Packers were doing, not bringing in any offensive talent. And then Lions had a lot of hype they didn't live up to. So we could see a lot happen in that division. Projections right now from what we're looking at. It looks like Vegas has the NFC North shaping out with Detroit and Minnesota tying for division lead, both at 11-6. They have the Packers finishing 6-11, and they have the Bears finishing 5-12. All of those could more than likely happen. I think the Vikings are still the team to beat in the North right now, unfortunately, but that is the way that it is looking to shape out right now.
I got the Lions winning the division.
You got the Lions taking it this season?
Yeah, I do, because I think Kirk Cousins is going to have a just meltdown this season.
I can see that happening. I definitely could see that happening. But when you have the number one wide receiver on your team, it takes up some of the slack. But the thing is, with them, they lost a very large part of their offense when they did not bring back Dalvin Cook. Now, speculation is they could still bring him back in, but right now they are looking at running Madison out of the backfield, which I don't know how that's going to pan out. They've restructured their offensive line, which could definitely change some things in the long term. So we need to see exactly what's going to happen from that team this year. All right, taking a look
at Adam Thielen too.
Exactly, yeah, losing Thielen. They have some other receivers on the team, but everything right now is going to filter through Jefferson. That's their game plan. That's what they're going to do. I really hope he doesn't get hurt with the amount of targets he's going to get on that team. So let's start off with the last place team, Chicago. The good thing Chicago has going its way this season is their strength of schedule. They are the ninth easiest schedule in 2023. Their hardest matchup is going to be coming from Kansas City in week 3. Past that, they're going to be all divisional games and mid-level talent through the rest of the year, which gives them an opportunity to really come back from that dreadful year that they had at 3-14. They did pull off a very major trade prior to draft day, bringing in DJ Moore from Carolina, giving up their number 1 pick. They got a lot of capital back from that. They did give up their number 1 pick. That went to Carolina. We know what Carolina did with that pick. They took a quarterback. Chicago ended up getting the number 9 pick, number 61 pick in this last draft, a 2024 first round pick, and a 2025 second round pick, as well as DJ Moore. So you want to talk about getting a haul for your number 1 pick? That was a pretty good haul. Yeah, exactly. They brought in some very, very good capital to that team. Some of their key losses in free agency, they lost David Montgomery. So their running back position right now is a little bit up in the air. And they did lose one of their veteran linemen in Riley Reef. He went to another offensive line to help them out. So that is going to weaken their offensive line. They have added in some talent, but I still think offensive line is going to be a question that Chicago is going to have to deal with. As far as free agencies that they've brought in, they've added in Tremaine Edmonds to their linebacking core. They've brought in Robert Tonyan to be a tight end / blocking tight end to assist. And then the running back that they did bring in to take over for Montgomery is Deontay Foreman, who has been a decent running back both in Houston and Carolina. I still don't see him as a number 1 running back. He's one of those flex that is usually behind another running back. He hasn't really led a team with any significance.
And honestly,
what are your thoughts on
Chicago don't know how to use a running back anymore.
No.
They don't. David Montgomery could have had better numbers than he did last year, but either the coach or the offensive coordinator had no idea how to use a running back of his caliber.
No, I agree with that. I agree. They really didn't. And they haven't, over the last couple of years, they had Kadeem Carey, didn't really do much with Kadeem Carey. They had David Montgomery, didn't really do much with David Montgomery. So remaining to be seen what they're going to be able to do in that running back position. And with the way that running backs are going right now, I don't think that they're going to really put a whole lot of money into it. So I think they're just going to kind of roll with how their offense is now. Yeah, free agency-wise, I didn't see any gigantic moves. They really were kind of par for the course with what they usually do. They bolster up the defense a little bit, try to add some offensive linemen, but really don't really hit any big target players outside of DJ Moore that they brought in for trade capital. So let's take a look at the fantasy targets from Chicago. DJ Moore, of course, is going to be top of the list there. His stats from last year: 63 receptions, 888 receiving yards, 7 touchdowns. ESPN currently has him ranked 19th overall when you're looking at wide receiver talent for fantasy. I think he's still going to be in the teens when we're talking at the end of the season, simply just because of the team that he's on. I see him probably producing a little bit, roughly right around where he was. I don't see him putting up very large numbers in Chicago, not at least this season, maybe down the road. If the quarterback gets better, maybe we see some better yardage. What the projection is for him is 64 receptions, 925 receiving yards, 7 touchdowns. Right around the same. Number 2 on the team, without a whole lot of options, it's going to be the other wide receiver on the team, Darnell Mooney. He got hurt in week 12, so he only has production through those first 12 weeks. Through those first 12 weeks, he had 40 receptions, 493 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. He is going to be that slot option role there in Chicago as the number 2. But again, with the questions that are in line with Chicago's offense, I don't see a very large production line from him. I would stay away from Darnell Mooney if it was me personally. I don't see him getting drafted. They have him slotted at 55 receptions, 696 on receiving yards, and 5 touchdowns at the end of the season. So definitely not spectacular numbers. Again, he might be one of those flex options on a weekly basis if you need a wide receiver that badly. He might be a deeper league target if you're in a 12 to 14 man league and you need one of those secondary receivers to fill in. That's where you would look at him. I would not look at him as a starting receiver. And then rounding it out in the top 3 for fantasy targets, we have Justin Fields, the quarterback on that team. Really, you're looking at rushing yards more than you're looking at any kind of quarterback play. Looking at his stats, 2,242 passing yards, 17 TDs, 11 interceptions. From a passing standpoint, that's not good. That's backup level quarterbacking. And again, he didn't have much to throw to there. He was running for his life because that offensive line wasn't all that great. But still, he's not proven in the first couple seasons that he's been in. Maybe that'll change if we give him some opportunities there. But that's where I see him kind of sitting in, is right around that 2,000, 3,000 passing yards. So you're not getting anything gigantic in the way of passing. If you look at his other talents on the field, he gave them 160 carries, 1,143 rushing yards, and 8 rushing touchdowns. That's an insane amount of rushing yards. That's more than the majority of running backs in the league provided their teams.
Yeah.
So again, you're looking at him strictly on a rushing basis. You might get some points in the passing game, but he's going to be one of those, again, flex spots that you're going to drop in if you need week by week, where you're looking for a bonus opportunity on the rushing side. Their projections on him right now, 3,193 passing yards, 22 passing touchdowns, 12 interceptions, still providing another 139 carries, 912 rushing yards, 6 touchdowns. How do you feel about Chicago?
I think that they might improve their wins by maybe 3 or 4.
I can agree with that. I still see them as a 5-6 win team, unfortunately. Chicago has a long road to go. We're probably looking at least 4 or 5 seasons out before they're even going to contend. And that's just based on what they're doing right now.
if they ever get the memo to bolster that line, so then they can get there, because I think Justin Fields could be a dynamic quarterback.
Yeah.
I really do. The one thing that they knock Lamar Jackson on is his arm. He has an arm, and it's accurate.
He does, and we'll see what he does with DJ. He really hasn't had that number one option in Chicago. So adding DJ, we'll see if that production does go up. It might go up. But if you're a quarterback running for your life, you're not looking to throw the ball. You're looking to save yourself. So
you can't throw the ball.
Yeah, exactly. Kevin, you want to break down Detroit?
All right. So Detroit has a favorable schedule. Currently ranked 16th in schedule difficulty. Their key losses in free agency were Jamal Williams and DJ Chark. Were two beasts for them last year. They did get some key pickups in free agency. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Cam Sutton, Emmanuel Mosley, David Montgomery. Remember that 2 games against the Bears, and Marvin Jones. That's why I think that they're going to win the division. They know what they need, and they went out and got it.
They knew that they needed to get some offensive talent to come in. They knew what they lost. They knew what they needed to replace, and they did it.
Yep. They lost 2 studs and got 2 studs.
And David staying in the division is going to look at those divisional games and say, give me the ball. I'm going to show you exactly what you are missing. I'm going to run it down your throat. And those are going to be some fun game to watch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So who are we looking at from a fantasy standpoint from these teams?
Amon-Ra St. Brown, of course.
When you have a name like that, I'm just going to draft you anyways.
You got for real. You freaking sun god. Come on.
Oh yeah, you got a name of a god. Yeah, you're getting added to the team.
Come on, I'm gonna draft you. I might put your name in my team name. Especially when you put up numbers like this.
Yeah.
With a quarterback like Jared Goff, 106 receptions, 1,161 receiving yards, 6 touchdowns. He's currently ranked 10th for ESPN fantasy receivers. He's fast, he's strong, and he can take whatever the defense gives to him. The one knock on him is who's throwing to him. If Jared Goff is the Jared Goff that started in St. Louis, oh dang, my bad. I'm sorry, LA.
Yeah, LA.
Wow, showing my age, man.
What are you doing, bro?
I'm sorry, LA. Then yeah, he's gonna have stupid numbers. He might get close to Megatron's single season record. He might.
Definitely could.
He might. If Jared Goff balls. Speaking of Jared Goff, he would be the second person targeted on that team. Even though he had his moments in games, he did put up some decent numbers. 3,522 passing yards, 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Actually less than my quarterback when it comes to interceptions. So I can't really say anything bad about that. 7 interceptions, okay. I'll take that. I'll take that every year. If I know my quarterback's going to throw 7 interceptions and by week 6 he throw his 7th interception, money. I know everything else that goes up is either going to get caught or it's going to hit the ground. But his problem is he doesn't really have the long ball. Very reliable in the mid-range. The long ball
short
just isn't
mid-range,
there anymore.
he's always been key.
I wouldn't consider him a first quarterback. I wouldn't go for him as a QB1 at all. No matter which type of league you're in. He's more of a QB2. I need a QB when my QB's on a bye kind of guy.
Yep.
Then third, we got David Montgomery. Now, we know 2 games are going to go against the Bears. And if anyone knows the holes in that defensive line, it's going to be the guy who practiced against them every single
he's going to know
last season. So he's going to go off on those games. But he's probably going to go off the rest of the season too, because in that division, not even going to talk about the Packers because, I mean, come on. And the Vikings, they can't stop anybody from running ever. So David Montgomery is going to be putting up some numbers.
Yep.
They got him projected at 190 carries, 777 rushing yards, and 7 touchdowns. But I think that's going to be, I think it's going to be more than that.
Oh yeah, those are lower rushing numbers. Yeah. The only thing that I can see kind of giving him a little bit of an issue is their rookie running back Gibbs coming in.
I was just going to mention that. Yeah, they may have him splitting time.
Yeah, I definitely see that happening. But I agree with you. I think he's going to put up major numbers this year. Yeah, I think 900, close to 1,000. I would be
easy. Yeah, and they're not even projecting his catching from the backfield numbers.
Nope. They have him very low projected. I think he's got 1 or 2 touchdowns projected. He's got maybe 200 yards. I think that's his usage is going to go off the charts. You give another weapon to Goff in that offense, and it gives them another dynamic. Plus,
exactly. And Goff loves a running back that's basically his safety valve. When he knows the blitz is coming, and he's got a guy who can catch the ball in the backfield and just work his magic, he's more settled. And see, that's the thing. A more settled Jared Goff is a dangerous Jared Goff.
That is correct. We've seen it. We saw it in LA the whole time he was there. I mean, when he's comfortable and he's got time, it's dangerous. So we'll see. And I wanted to wrap back around to St. Brown. So they have him. They've upped his rank since the last time we looked. He's currently number 8 on the list. But I want to show you some of the players that he's being looped in with. Of course, you have Jefferson, you have Cooper Kupp, you have Jamar Chase, you have Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, and CeeDee Lamb. And then you have Amon-Ra St. Brown. So me personally on this list, 1 and 2 are givens. You have Jefferson and Kupp right there at the top.
Nobody's taking it.
No. And to be honest, I can see Chase giving Kupp a run for his money for that number 2 spot. But then when you start dropping down to number 4 with Tyreek Hill, again, it's a question. Based on your quarterback, Devontae Adams, questionable with the quarterback. Stephon Diggs, he's going to put up numbers, but how much of those numbers are going to be on the downstream based on what else is available in that offense? So you're going to see production drops on that. And then again with CeeDee Lamb, the same thing. What's going to happen in that offense is going to be the big question for CeeDee Lamb. With St. Brown, they brought in Marvin Jones. But outside of Marvin Jones, who else do you have on that team?
Yeah, they lost their tight end.
Yeah, their tight end is now in Minnesota. Hawkinson is no longer there. So
Hawkinson was a beast.
Hawkinson still is a beast, but for Minnesota.
It just sucks to them.
Trust me. It does definitely suck when we have to play them twice a year. The numbers that they're giving St. Brown with that 1,038 and 6 touchdowns, even for me, that's too low.
Yeah.
I think he's going to get well more than that. He's going to be up to the 1,300 mark because now Goff is familiar with him and knows how to utilize it. Defenses might be able to kind of read and learn how to play based off the game film, but he's one of those players that is going to be able to transcend that. He is I'm going to punch you in the mouth wide receiver. If you've seen him, if you watched Hard Knocks last year and you watched him, he is not going to go down easy. You're going to be watching him run those routes, and he is going to be taking down these cornerbacks getting to that ball. So the numbers that they provided are too low.
Yeah, you can't disrespect the God like that. What y'all thinking, ESPN? Come on.
Exactly. All right, so let's move on. We're going to go to the Vikings. Vikings right now have a tough road back to the playoffs. I still think that they are going to be the team to come out of the North just based off of the history and what I've seen from them the last couple of years, even with Kirk Cousins behind the line there. Vikings right now have the 8th toughest schedule. They have the 8th toughest route to the Super Bowl through the regular season. And that's nothing to shake your head at. When you're looking at some of the teams that they have to play, it's going to be a tough road. It really is going to be a tough road. So keeping that in mind, they are not going to get back to that 13 win. I still see them 11 and 12 wins. They're not going to get back to that 13. They're going to have some losses this season. Some of their losses in free agency are big losses that they are going to have to learn to overcome. They lost Dalvin Cook, which is a very large portion of their offensive weaponry that they have lost. He would catch the ball out of the backfield. He would run it down the middle of the field, just completely destroy people to get into the end zone. And that is gone. They have to rely on Mattson now to see exactly what they're going to do. Adam Thielen is no longer a weapon on that team. He is not taking heat away from Jefferson. So you are going to see some more coverage on Jefferson now because you don't have that coverage on the opposite side of the field. And then from their defense, they did lose a large portion of their defense when they lost Eric Kendricks, who was a captain on that team and had been with that team for a very long time. So that is another major loss on that team. They did bring in Byron Murphy at cornerback and Marcus Davenport from, I believe they brought him in from New Orleans to add into the linebacker core with Kendricks gone. But I still think with free agency moves, they are going to feel that hit when it comes to game time.
They're going to feel that the Kendricks ones. They're going to feel that in the locker room.
Yep.
And that's a very important spot.
Yeah, it definitely is. And Davenport will come in and fill in some of that gap. He is one of those very, very good linebacking core players, but I still don't think he is that team captain as such that they had with Kendricks. So they're going to feel that on defense. Top fantasy targets that we're looking at right now, Justin Jefferson, of course, number one. He's arguably going to be the number one overall player at the end of the season. His 2022 regular season, we touched on this last week, 128 receptions, 1,809 receiving yards, and 8 touchdowns. All of those numbers are absurd. That is not going to be reproduced, but they are amazing numbers. If you had him last year, more than likely on your team, you went to the playoffs and went to your championship games. He is an amazing route runner and downfield talent, arguably the number one wide receiver in the league. They have him projected right now 115 receptions, 1,495 receiving yards, and 9 touchdowns. I think they're spot on with where they're going to have him. He is going to lose a little bit of that production just simply based on the fact that he's going to have targets on him more because of the lack of talent at wide receiver that they have now that they've lost Adam Thielen. Number 2 is going to possibly be the number 3 or 4 tight end targeted out of all tight ends, which is TJ Hawkinson. We just kind of talked about him. Last year, 2022 regular season, 86 receptions, 914 receiving yards, 6 touchdowns. One of the best in the league. He is a very, very big player, very tall player, has a very large wingspan, which plays into his game. You can essentially get him in the end zone and just throw the ball up to him, and he's going to get it. Projection on him, 75 receptions, 846 receiving yards, 6 touchdowns. Again, I think that's spot on. He could get to that 900, 950, but I don't see him surpassing that. And then looking at the talent on the team, number 3 would be Mattson, that running back position. Last year, 74 carries, 283 rushing yards, 5 touchdowns. That was in a limited role that they had him playing in with some Dalvin Cook injuries and some benchings of Dalvin Cook. Mm-hmm. And being that they've cut ties with Dalvin Cook now and having him as a starter, of course, his numbers are going to go up. I just don't know how far they're going to go up. It's not going to be anywhere near Dalvin Cook numbers simply based on the amount of touches that Cook gave that team. Right now, they have him at 214 carries, 881 rushing yards, and 8 touchdowns. When I looked at receiving, they didn't have a whole lot in the way of receiving yards for him. I think it was roughly about 250, and maybe 2 touchdowns that he's going to add to that team. Again, when Dalvin Cook was on that team, number of touches, whether it be rushes, whether it be receiving yards, is what kept that team in the thick of things, and you're not going to get that with Mattson.
No, he didn't show me in the time that he had last year. He didn't show me that he could match the production that Dalvin Cook was putting out.
No, even when he was starting games, when they had him starting full games, he has that burst at the line, but the elusiveness and the quickness downfield, he just doesn't have it. He's going to be one of those, I'm going to punch you in the face at the line and possibly get in for some red zones. But that elusiveness and that talent outside the backfield, when you're getting that ball thrown to you in a screen, or you're taking a out pass up the field, I just don't see that coming to Mattson. All right, Kev, I will let you take the reins on my Packers. Be kind, but go ahead and break them down for me.
I'll be gentle. I'll be gentle. And now we come down to the Green Bay Packers. The Packers are currently ranked 11th in strength of schedule for this upcoming season. I don't know if you guys have heard, but Aaron Rodgers is no longer holding them hostage. He's gone. He's gone to the Jets. Good luck, Jets.
Yeah.
So now we'll be able to finally answer the question that not only have Packers fans asked, but a lot of football people have asked is, what are we going to see from Mr. Love? Are we going to see a wasted draft pick that they should have just cut ties with, 2 years ago, last year?
It was a first round draft pick too, which is just absurd.
Or is he going to prove to them that he deserved that number one pick? Of course, with the loss of Aaron Rodgers, he had to poach a few guys from you as well. Mm-hmm. You lost Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb, you lost Dean Lowry, and Robert Tonyan. And Robert Tonyan was huge because Robert Tonyan could have been that veteran voice for the young quarterback.
He could have, and we never used him to his potential. No. When he's out with some of the other tight ends working out in the offseason and they're comparing him to some of the top tight ends, and we never use him to his potential, I really hope Chicago finds a way to utilize him.
Yeah. No, they probably will. Didn't really do much in the free agency. You did draft Luke Van Ness, Luke Musgrave, and Tucker Kraft.
Yeah.
With the hopes that they can replace what Robert Tonyan left you. Really, your fantasy targets are going to be Aaron Jones, of course. Aaron Jones is going to be Aaron Jones, regardless of who's giving him the ball. It doesn't matter. He's just a bad man in the bad.
When he's on, he's on. But when he has those bad games, everybody is sitting there just saying, what in the hell are you doing, Aaron Jones? What are you doing? But when he's on, when he has those games, he definitely does.
Spoken like a true fan. So with Rodgers being gone, there should be a lot more opportunities for him to run the ball because naturally when you get a first-year quarterback, and I'm doing air quotes because technically he's not a first-year quarterback, they're going to rein him in a little, and they're going to rely on the run. So with that, he's going to be looking at 195 carries, 962 rushing yards, and 4 touchdowns. I think they're lowballing him a little.
Yeah,
I think he's going to be a 1,000-yard rusher, and he's definitely going to have more than 4 touchdowtu.
Oh yeah, definitely, of course. And if you look at his production last year with Rodgers being at that 213 carries, 1121 at the rushing yard mark, and only 2 touchdowns. A lot of them were those touchdowns were sacrificed in the red zone to AJ Dillon. But still, I think that they're going to have to go through the running game to be able to produce this season. And we'll see. We'll see if we get anything in the way of receiving, but I think the vast majority of what we're going to do is ground and pound. That's what we're going to have to do.
Speaking of receiving, the second person you want to target is Christian Watson. Christian Watson's regular season stats: 41 receptions, 611 receiving yards, 7 touchdowns. He had the dropsies. Let's just put it like that. He had the dropsies. Bro, you get the dropsies around Aaron Rodgers, your trust level is going to go to negative 50. And he had a huge drop on the first play of the season.
My phone almost went through the TV. No, I'm serious. My family had to calm me down because I was livid. How do you He is 20 yards in front of any player. Downfield, Rodgers drops it right in the breadbasket. It's in his hands. And it just goes right through. It was a given touchdown. It would have been the best way to open up that season, but he dropped it.
Yeah, he did. But
it was not a catch.
But towards that's not funny. I'm trying not to laugh.
Sorry, Cowboys fans. But hey, it comes right back to us. It was not a catch on Green Bay's side.
But here's the thing. Towards the end of the season, he gained that trust, and he started showing not only the NFL, but more importantly, Packers Nation, that he's the guy that's going to be that next number one receiver for them.
Yep.
His projected stats are 67 receptions, 977 receiving yards, and 6 touchdowns. Depending on how Jordan Love does, that may be a little higher.
Yeah, I think he's going to be Love's safety blanket. Love is going to be going to him a lot, specifically since we don't have Lazard anymore. A couple years ago, we lost Valdez-Scantling. We all see how he did on that championship team for Kansas City.
Yeah, all he did was get a ring.
And so I was just watching replays of it. I'm like, why couldn't we retain him? It was ridiculous. Like, he's just diming touchdowns all day long. He's just catching them in the end zone, and it's
And when you guys first drafted him, you were high on him.
I was the whole time. And I was telling everybody.
I was too. I was like, this kid is amazing. I put him on my fantasy team.
Yep. You watched his college tape. His college tape told you everything you needed to know. This dude was downfield talent. He would get open. And if you had a good quarterback and you could place it to him, you were almost ensured a touchdown. And Aaron utilized him. It was one of his weapons. He utilized him a lot. And then we just let him go. So.
Yep. And then, of course, last but not least, A.J. Dillon, the other running back, 186 carries, 770 rushing yards, and 7 touchdowns. Dillon he's in a special situation in which he was a running back for Green Bay that hit 1,000 yards rushing this season, which was amazing. If you think about it.
Oh, yeah.
If you think about it, that line was just trash by the end of it all. That line was just nothing. So the fact that they had 2 running backs with that hit that milestone, it was good. It was amazing. The thing that Aaron Jones guys who hated about AJ Dillon was how many touchdowns he took away from them.
Yeah.
Because Aaron Jones would do all the work. He'd get them to the 2 or 1 yard line and then pull him out and then let old bulldozer AJ Dillon just freaking move the entire line into the end zone.
Oh, trust me. I had Jones on a couple of my teams last year, and that's exactly what happened. And if Jones didn't give you the wide open, I'm going to run it 40 or 50 yards for a touchdown, you knew what was going to happen. You were going to get in the red zone, and Dillon would come in.
And they've got him projected for pretty much around the same numbers, 172 carries, 738 rushing yards, and 5 touchdowns. So pretty much the same numbers that he had last year.
Yep. And I see that to be right on. And if we're looking at DFS numbers, you're doing the daily fantasy, you could double stack both of those guys in those games. They're going to be probably, if you're looking at captains, they're going to be in those $15,000-$16,000 range. And if you're looking at just standard players, if you're just putting them into a regular DFS lineup, You're still going to look at them probably 7,000-8,000. So if you can work them both in, Aaron Jones is going to give you those receiving yards, those rushing yards, possibly the touchdowns here and there sprinkled in. And then Dylan is going to give you everything that you need once Green Bay gets in the red zone. So if you're looking for those red zone touches, those red zone touchdowns, he's definitely somebody to target DFS. From a Packers fan standpoint, I think those are solid picks for top 3 picks coming out of there. Jordan Love, if he does come out and show why he deserved to be taken in the first round and lights the league on fire, which it could happen. Everybody was kind of saying the same thing about Rodgers when he took over for Favre, and then we all saw what Rodgers did. I don't think that this is the same thing that we're going to see from Love.
So see, and the problem with that was nobody watched the Pac-12.
Yeah,
that was the problem. People who watched the Pac-12 like us knew who Aaron Rodgers was.
Oh yeah.
We knew who he was.
His Cal days, he was putting up yardage at Cal, and he wasn't losing major games to big Pac-12 teams. He had a couple wins against UCLA, a couple wins against USC, a couple wins against Oregon. So when you're beating some of those caliber teams in the Pac-12, you are definitely going to warrant a top grade pick. But we'll wait to see what Love does. I don't have a lot of faith that he's going to be the face of the franchise. He's going to be there for a couple seasons, but we may down the road have to look at another quarterback. But let's give him his due. Let's see what he can do and go from there. But I like those picks. I really don't have a whole lot of hope out of our team to make it to the playoffs this season. I think this is going to be one of those rebuilding years. Those additions that we added in the draft, I think are going to pay dividends. So both of those tight ends are top-rated tight ends. Those tight ends are huge players from their schools. Put up some yards. Definitely helps out in the blocking game as well to give Love that added time. And then you have Van Ness coming out of Iowa, who was just a terror for Iowa in that defense. So I'm really hoping some good stuff happens with those picks.
Here's my hot take for this division. Jordan Love will be the best quarterback.
That is a hot take, and I hope that hot take actually takes effect. I really do. So that was our breakdown of division play and within those divisions who we were going to target top for the North. We're also weeks away from the Hall of Fame game, which is the start of our NFL seasons. So that is on the 3rd of August at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. That is the Jets and the Browns. So we're going to get to see two teams that we've been talking about go face to face. And we'll see exactly what those teams, I mean, it's a Hall of Fame game. You're not going to see a lot from the starters, but we're going to see a little bit.
Maybe one series each.
But you know what? For anybody that watches football, any football fan, football is football. So I will take the Hall of Fame game any day of the week over no football at all. But we will next week we'll break down AFC, NFC East on episode 3. We'll also take a look at anything coming out of the training camps, any other news or anything. And then we also have some TV that's going to be coming up that's going to be NFL related. We have Hard Knocks coming up featuring the Jets, which sore subject for me because of their quarterback, but we'll definitely see how that goes. And then Kev, you were talking about some good fun TV that's going to be coming on too.
Oh, the series on Netflix, Quarterbacks. It's in conjunction with the NFL and Peyton Manning's production company. It's a docuseries about 3 quarterbacks. This season they're doing Patrick Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, and Marcus Mariota. And I know you guys are asking, what do you mean Marcus Mariota? Who's he playing for? It's from last season. So they're following him around and doing a docuseries about those 3 quarterbacks and being how it is being a quarterback in the NFL, the ups and downs game by game and things like that. It's actually a pretty interesting watch, but it definitely sounds it.
Yeah, it sounds it. I might take a couple looks at that too, trying to see exactly what they go through. But yeah, those are some things that we're going to talk about. As always, we're going to have all of our social feeds listed down below. We have some good content that's coming out in short form. Some people like it, some people don't.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, all of it is funny. If you're a football fan, you're going to find it funny. You're going to find some of it very insightful. A lot of the stuff that we talk about in these episodes is kind of broken down in those short form videos as well. So if you don't want to watch the full live streams or the full recaps, you can catch a lot of what we're talking about in those shorts. You're not going to catch everything. We do suggest, if you want a lot of the information, to come and join our live stream or listen to our playback or listen to the podcast. But you will find some stuff. So again, we'll have all of that listed down below in the description. You can join our Discord. We're going to have some good fantasy information there. You can ask us questions directly. You're going to have a community base that you can talk to as well. And then if you're looking for a league, or if you're a league looking for players, you'll have the opportunity to post there and see if you can pick up some people. We're also going to have some information down the road for membership. If you want to become a member, you'll get specific information from us that will only go to members, member-only videos, member-only picks of the week, different things like that. And then we will also have some listener leagues that we're going to be doing with some of our daily fantasy sports like DraftKings, FanDuel, all that stuff, where you can be able to get in for a low amount, like $10, $5, $10. And it'll be about 100 to 200 people that will be able to get in on a weekly basis. Top, I think, would win anywhere from 140 to 150. So that's a pretty good chunk of change. You don't have to worry about drafting a team that you have to watch for the entire season. These are weekly leagues. So if you just want to come in for 1 week, jump in, pick a team, see how you do, and then that's it. You can do that, or you can continue to do it. But so it's on a weekly basis. Yeah,
it's easy too. Like
it's
you said,
easy.
You don't have to worry about setting the lineup every week.
But there's a lot of strategy that goes into it. You have to go more off of that week's line of games, those matchups, rather than what that player is going to do over a season margin. So you're going to look at a lot more of, okay, this player is they're matched up against a very bad defense, so I'll throw them into my receiving core and let's see what they do. So it's a lot more like that. But we'll have a lot more of that information in the Discord, so feel free. We'll have the Discord link in the description as well. And as always, if you like the content, subscribe, like, share it out. Hit the notification bell. We'll keep you notified if new video information comes out. But outside of that, we appreciate you joining us. Kev, you got any last remarks you want to throw out there?
Thank you. That's all I got to say.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us for episode 2. We look forward to being on for episode 3. We hope you have a good one.